Abigail was a social butterfly. She loved colors. She was vibrant. She loved everything beautiful. You like lovely, lovely stuff. She had a personality that could not be denied. There were no shades of gray. You knew where she sits with anything. She owned her life. She exuded, because she was nurtured in love, she exuded life differently. Her radiance, her aura, her beauty. Everything about her was just beautiful. Her skin, her hair, and so many other things. Her cheekiness, she was funny, she was saucy. They named her the Queen of Sass. That was Abigail. And that was a girl who never spoke a word, who could never do anything for herself. She had no speech, but we knew about her. We knew what she wanted. We knew what she doesn't want. She has a way. This girl, when she's out, she was a social butterfly. She was the life of the party. She had a personality that when she likes you, she likes you. When she doesn't, unfortunately, she will just show it again. You just know that she doesn't. And you will get her vibes, and we saw so many beautiful things about her. And that was the typical Abigail. OAKonsult Disabilities Outreach. It's an organization that is focused on supporting parent carers and working within the disability community to ensure that every family has life abundantly, despite the challenges that they face when you have a child with disability. And all this started as an offshoot of my own lived experience. April 11, 2010, precisely. A day I would always remember like it was yesterday. And we were just 6 years in marriage. It was a Sunday. Suddenly, the house help just cried, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, mommy." By the time we would get there, our youngest daughter was just kind of stiff. And we're like, "What's this?" We didn't even know. So we started rushing her. We just rushed her straight to the hospital. My daughter, at 18 months, she convulsed. She just suddenly convulsed, and from there slipped into coma. And from there, we started the journey. Of course, even though the day started normal, it didn't end up normal for us, because by the end of that same day, what will be a course, or will set us off on a course, on a path that will be totally different from what we set out to be when we were getting married in 2004, was already established for us by the end of that day. And that began the journey, a 14-year journey, a 15-year journey, but which is eventually dovetailing into the purpose that we have today. The way she was treated in coma led to brain damage. From there, we decided to, let's travel, let's take her out of the country, go to a good, pediatric hospital, and then we flew out to the UK. The first day we got there, by the evening of that day, was when the consultant came up to us in the room and said, "Madam, sorry, Mrs. Adeloye, we don't have good news." And they said, "Well, from what we can see, from all the things we have read here, your daughter is already brain damaged." I think the first thing, when I flash back to that day, the first thing I remember is the fact that it's a very thin line between sanity and insanity. Because immediately she said what she said, I just started laughing. So that was the beginning of the journey for myself and my family. Long and short, with all that, we thought, okay, we needed to make another move. And that was what led to our relocation from Nigeria, to say we have a life to take care of. And since we have seen that there's a better place where she could get better access to different things, we thought, let's give it a shot and let's pursue that. And the first thing that had to go was my career. So I had to resign from work. So all of us relocated to the UK. And as a family, we had to learn life differently. We had to learn, our sisters, for example, had to grow up very, very quickly. And with my husband as well, who, bless him, came to the UK with a return ticket. And it ended up being that he couldn't travel back with that return ticket until about 12 years after he stepped on the soil of the United Kingdom. But in all that has happened to Abigail, to us as a family, and generally, there were so many things that made us to realize that actually Abigail lived a full life, albeit short. To start off with, I'm doing this today because of that same girl. When we first came to the UK, we were told that she doesn't have a good prognosis and that she might not even get up to age of 5. Abigail got to age of 5. Then said, she probably will not get to double digits. She got to double digits. Abigail pushed back on life beyond what anybody could ever think or imagine. In all, her 14 years living with this condition, right, she was on life support for about probably 12 or 13 times. That was one of the things. Abigail went through different schools. She was able to go through different schools that was able to work again because there was a system that allowed that kind of, input.
Oluwatoitan is busy with her eye gaze program as she's playing the guitar.
So when she's ill, you see that, this fragile, this vulnerable, but when she's fine, you see the strongest girl, the most resilient girl you could ever have. And that was the kind of thing, that was the kind of life that she lived. She loved loud music. She was a proper Naija girl. When you're playing the normal, gentle music, she just doing that. Now I just said to the teacher, please, do you mind some noisy ones? And by the time they added some cymbals, some drums, you see the glee, like, oh God, what are you like? That was the kind of life that we had, and you just couldn't but treasure that. And if you can get that from a child, like there's so many other children that has a learning disability, autism, ADHD, they could do so many other things. Some of them could do arts and be creative and all that. But because we allow the negative aspect of disabilities to overshadow every other thing, we lose sight of the quality of life that they could actually have. So whether long or short, like their life could be, my daughter had a short life. She passed at age 16, but it was full, it was rich. It was a beautiful life that she had, despite all the challenges. So for some of our own children, they will have long life, they will live long, but how can we support them just so that we can empower them to do whatever they can do? Those things that we want to do with Oak Center Prime. And this is a facility that we obviously need support to build. And for us, we believe that for every child that has disability, there is something about them that needs to be discovered. If we could save another family the kind of heartache and challenges that we had where medical mismanagement led to the brain damage of my own daughter, if we could save this from diagnosis or from getting things early enough so that, other families and other children would not need to go through that. However, if we're not able to prevent that and there is disability, how can we nurture that here without traveling out of the shores of Nigeria? That is what Oak Center Prime is going to be giving to our families. And so we're just appealing and we're asking for everybody to come along with us. As an organization, The phase we're at right now is to establish what we call Oak Center Prime in Nigeria. This is Oak Center Prime land. This is a 35 acres land that has been provided to us by the community, the Olo town community in Ogbomoso, in Oyo State. And this is the facility that will sit a center for children with disabilities between ages 0 to 25. It will be a boarding facility. We'll be able to have healthcare facilities in here, and we'll be able to have rehabilitation and therapy facilities, coupled with other things, other infrastructure that the children with disabilities will need to help them, to nurture them, to care for them in a dignified way. At the Oak Center Prime, we want to value a life. How much can you actually give to a life? What is the cost of a life? That is what we want to demonstrate here. And that is why our care will be with dignity. Our care will be that gives to the potential, that speaks to the potential of any child or young person that passes through this facility. Not particularly because of what they cannot do, but because of what they can do.
Na, na, na.